Welcome, everybody, to the You Are Worthy Network. I'm your host, Steve Wormer, and I am feeling so good today. I'm grateful for so much today. And sometimes it's just the little things, right? Like our internet has been up, it's been down. It was working this morning. I was excited, and I was in a Zoom call and it kicked me out 20 minutes into it. I'm like, and now, knock on wood, it's been solid for 2 hours. So I'm excited for the little things. But I'm also excited more than things. I'm excited about people that God brings into my life. What about you guys? Are you excited about all the mysterious and divine ways He's working in your life? Boy, I sure am. And today's guest is somebody that, even though I've only known her, well, I guess we first met back in maybe mid-May, but we talked more at length about 3 weeks ago. And I call her a dear friend already. She's my sister in Christ, and I think you guys are going to love her. And before I tell you more about her and her bio, just in case you're watching this for the first time and you're like, what is this You Are Worthy Network? I joined because somebody I trusted invited me. The name, maybe it resonated with you, but like, what is it? You might be asking. Well, I'm going to try to keep that answer as short as I can, although I am a preacher, so you know how that goes. Um, you Are Worthy is a rebuttal to my own unhealthy mindset. And I want to say my previous unhealthy mindset, which is true for the most part. But here's the thing about mindset. It can creep up on you in an unhealthy way, just like that. All kinds of things can trigger it. So it's something we have to work on and we work on with other people. But I wanted to have a network. I wanted to have a podcast that brings a little hope and encouragement into a very dark world. And I want to be the one that gets to remind you every single time we go live that you're worthy of love, respect, and success. And I'll even tell you why. Don't you like it when somebody tells you why? I I'm not worthy. On my own, I'm not worthy. But Jesus's blood changed that whole landscape. We're worthy because of his sacrifice. And I want to encourage you today, and I'll probably say it more than once, that wherever you're at on this journey, and I respect wherever you're at, that your story's not over yet. You're in the middle of a chapter. Some of your best chapters are still to come, and I can't wait to hear your stories. That's a little bit about the You Are Worthy Network. And I do understand you're like, Steve, be quiet. We want to get on with Michon. I understand. I do too. So let's go. Michon Henegar is an educational leader, speaker, author, and consultant with more than 3 decades of experience serving children, families, educators, and schools. Her diverse background includes roles as a school administrator, university professor, educational consultant, teacher, owner operator of multiple early childhood educational centers. Throughout her career, she has been passionate about helping children build strong foundations for lifelong learning while equipping educators with practical strategies that create lasting impact. As a certified brain coach and certified life coach, Michon specializes in helping educators, leaders, parents, and students understand the connection between the brain, behavior, learning, and relationships. Her work combines brain research. I lost my place. So I'm sorry. Um, I did. I lost my place. Sorry. Her work combines brain research, child development, executive functioning leadership principles, and faith based values to provide practical solutions for both adults and children. She is known for translating complex concepts into engaging, easy to implement strategies that support academic growth, positive behavior, emotional well being, and healthy school culture. Michonne is the author of Get Your Ducks in a Row, a practical guide that helps leaders move from simply managing life to succeeding with greater clarity, purpose, and intentional action. She is also the author of My Brain Coach, excuse me, the founder of My Brain Coach and the creator of educational programs including Pre-K Playday and the Bible is for Me from A to Z, designed to help equip educators, parents, churches, and schools with tools that inspire learning, character development, and faith formation. Through her training, coaching, curriculum development, and writing, Michon empowers others to build stronger relationships, develop resilient minds, and create environments where children and adults both can thrive. Michon's mission is to transform lives by helping people understand the brain, strengthen behavior, build character, and grow in faith, creating cultures where learning, leadership, and God given purpose can flourish. Oh my goodness. I'm sitting there talking about unhealthy mindset, and I'm talking to a brain coach. Michon, welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate you having me here today, and I look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. There's so many places in what I just read that we could camp. And I'm confident that we'll make progress, but probably not cover it all today. But I want to jump right in and ask you some things on a personal level, if we could.
Sure.
One of the blessings is any day now, we're probably going to eclipse 17,000 members, which I contribute to God for sure. But I've got people watching potentially the next few weeks all over the world. Tell us what corner of the world you live in. Where's home?
So I live in Texas, Dallas, Texas for me, in a town called Prosper. I mean, isn't that a good name? Prosper, Texas.
Yeah, that's a good name for sure. We don't want the opposite of that.
That's right.
So tell us who you do life with.
So, I really enjoy being with my family. I have a lot of friends as well, but my family is my priority. I've been married to my husband for over 36 years. And so that's a long time. And we have a lot of great memories. We have two grown children. They're both married. And I have three beautiful granddaughters, little bitty ones, like two and under. So that's a lot of fun right now. We're kind of back in that little baby stage, but I really do enjoy being with my family, and they all love Jesus, and we want to make Jesus known. So that's who I like to do life with. I also have some incredible friends, and I have learned in life that friends come sometimes for a season, sometimes for a reason, and sometimes for a lifetime. And the reason I put that in there really quick is that people get stuck there sometimes. I had someone say, "Oh, I wish I had a lot of friends like you." And I say, "Well, we all have them for different reasons, seasons, reasons, and lifetimes." So I do a lot of life with my family and a lot of life with my friends.
I love that you inserted that, and I'm going to try not to camp there. I want to, but you and I should talk about that offline sometime. I've known that here for a long time,
Mhm.
and I just had to learn that in a more challenging way. Actually, leaving Dallas back in March, so that's a fascinating topic. But you're right. See, people come into your life for different reasons and different parts of our journey. They all serve a purpose, and I think the challenging part is programming yourself to not be surprised when there are changes in that
Mhm.
circle. But that's a whole nother conversation. So, tell us what you guys like to do for fun when you're just in town or hanging around the house. And then do you guys like to travel also?
We absolutely like to travel. That's one of our favorite things to do when we can go places as a family, or my husband and I, we like to travel as well. We just went to Port Aransas. That was fun and just a simple trip here in Texas, but there's a lot of things you can do in Texas. Went to the San Antonio River Walk. That's a great place to visit. And then we have also gone about a year ago, we went on a cruise together as a family. We all went together and that was a great time. So we love to travel. We also like to just have everyone come over for dinner. And, sometimes I think we overcomplicate what we have to do, but make things simple in life. Like just enjoy that you have someone to eat dinner with. That can be a great thing. So our family loves to do that. Just have everyone to one of our houses. And sometimes we will even get carry out. We bring it to the house and we just enjoy each other's company. And again, I'm going to tag that with if you don't have a lot of family close, find a friend, go to coffee. The simple things in life are the things that matter.
I love that. I love that. I've heard so many good things about San Antonio Riverwalk too. You're like the 50th person I've met that has said that.
You know, it is beautiful. My little tip and trick, though, is you have to have a hotel that's right on the Riverwalk. So you can literally walk out of the hotel and you're right there. And there are so many incredible restaurants and the walk is beautiful. So it's a great place to be.
Yeah, I've been to Austin twice. I've been to Dallas multiple times. I've been in Houston's airport. I've never been to San Antonio. And anyway, there's other parts of Texas that are coming my way in the near future, as you well know. But yeah, San Antonio is on the list one day for sure. So, Michon, I'd like to you strike me as very organized, very focused, very visionary, but with a huge heart. That's just my perspective. Um, but I want to see if that evolved over time or if you've always kind of been wired that way. Let's go back in time. I
Okay.
want to take you back to your senior year in high school. And specifically, you're in the last week. You're graduating on Friday night, and let's say it's Tuesday.
Hmm.
And you've obviously got the cap and gown. It's probably hanging up in your closet. Maybe you've got a class ring. And I think it's fascinating to get into the minds of 17 and 18-year-olds. My 17-year-old just graduated last month from high school
Hmm.
and he is working hard. He just bought his first car. He's got some issues already. That's a whole nother story. But like watching him start to think responsibly. He even sat down with us recently and said, I think I need to grow in this specific area. What do y'all think? Which is such a welcome
That's
conversation,
awesome.
right?
Right.
Yeah. And but there's no right or wrong answers. It's just fascinating. So for you, like, did you already have a job? Did you know what you were going to do that fall? Like, you knew you were going into education. The vision was yours. You could taste it. Couldn't wait to get out of there. Or was there a little more reluctancy? Maybe there was some fear. I'm going to miss this place. I guess I need to get a job this summer. I'm not
Hmm.
sure what I'm going to do in the fall. Or were you somewhere in between?
You know, when I talk to people, Steve, I always say to them, where are you at? Is this a yes? Is this a no? Is this a 50-50? Okay, kind of give three choices. And I'm going to say a 50-50 for me. So I'll
Hmm.
take you into my story a little bit. As a little girl, I was raised in a Christian house. My dad was a pastor. He opened one of the first child care centers in New Mexico. And so that was something that we always knew about child care. And then he had a Christian school that he opened. It's still going today. But also, he had a Christian radio station and two Christian TV stations. So he was very entrepreneurial in everything that he did. And I'm sharing all of this to kind of set up my story so that you know a little bit more about me. He also was a church builder, and my grandfather and my dad and my uncle built multiple churches across the United States. So, from a little girl, I always saw my family doing different things. And I have that same kind of mindset like, let's be busy, let's get things done. I want to keep working and moving. And so, from the time I was very young, I always wanted to be a teacher. And I just knew I was going to be a teacher one day. And I would take out, if you remember those highlight magazines, well, we would get them in the mail and I would put them out on the floor and I would pretend like those were all of my students and I would teach them. And so, you know, anything that would listen to me, a Barbie doll, a stuffed animal, I was like, I'm going to teach them. And then I had two little neighbor friends. I still remember their names, Jennifer and Leah. And I would have them come over and I'd teach them. So from a very young age, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. That was always deep in my heart. Also, deep in my heart was ministry. I wanted to be able to work in ministry, and I always had a love for, working in kids' church. That was one thing that I really enjoyed doing. But then as I grew older, also women's ministry has come in, right? It goes hand in hand, the moms teaching the children. So that was there. That was never something that I was like, what do I want to be? I knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. But here's where the 50-50 comes in. So at the age of 6, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. At 14, she passed away.
Hmm.
And I graduated from high school at the age of 16. Okay, so you can kind of see the progression there. And my dad actually got remarried when I was 16. So there were a lot of different dynamics in our life at that point in time. So not only did I have a stepmom at that point, I also, there's a lot of transition with that. I also am graduating from high school and I'm ready to go on to the university level. And I did stay in town. I didn't go out of state, but my mind was in a lot of different spaces. So pursuing education seemed just like that was safe. That was me. That's what I was created to do. And so I really stayed focused on education and then I stayed focused on work. I would say to the point I was a workaholic. If anyone knew me back in that season and time in my first years in education, I was just working, working, working. That's how I coped with things. And so I feel like when I tell you that from like two angles, you can kind of see into my story a little bit more. But God is good and He meets us with grace and He meets us with beauty each step of the way if we allow Him to. And so that's how my journey was started in education.
That's so fascinating because if I didn't take you to the 1 week away from graduation route, I was going to ask you if you knew from a little girl that you wanted to be in education.
Mhm.
And that does not surprise me that that was your answer, but that is fascinating, and I appreciate you giving us the back context of the family dynamics and the graduating young. I mean, there's a lot going on there, and I too can tend to be a workaholic. And early on, it was for the same reasons, some family dynamics, just trying to immerse myself into work, which I think a lot of people do. It's
Right.
fascinating. So you did go, okay, so you do end up going to college in your local town. And by the way, is that I'm assuming it's somewhere different than Prosper, but maybe not too terribly
Yes.
far away.
So Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where I was born and raised, was in Albuquerque.
Okay.
And I did. I went to school there for 2 years and then I got married at 18. Okay, so I got married at 18 years old. And my husband, he was a youth pastor in Mesa, Arizona. So we moved to Mesa, Arizona, and I finished my degree in elementary education at Grand Canyon University. So that's where I graduated from. I graduated at 20 with my bachelor's degree and went straight into education. So started teaching. I started teaching the youngest ones at first grade, right? Little ones. And then God has like different things for us. Sometimes not what we want. Right. So let me tell you my career. I have taught everything except fourth and fifth grade. But I remember sitting in meetings and I would be teaching a certain grade. And at that point in time, I'd gone from first grade down to kinder because kindergarten, they had opened this brand new program and I have a love for early childhood. So I taught kindergarten. And then my principal called me in one day and she said, "Hey, I wanted to talk with you." I said, "Okay, sounds good." She said, "I think you would be great in third grade next year. You could be a third grade teacher." And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh no, like that's a really bad idea. I don't want to do that because I'd only taught first grade and I taught preschool when I was in college. I worked with preschool kids. So she said, well, think about it for 2 weeks and come back and talk with me. I'm like, perfect. So I come back 2 weeks later and I just said to her, okay, I thought about it. I don't want to do it. And she said, well, I thought about it too, and you're going to do it. And I'll never forget that moment. Like I had like tears in my eyes, like I don't want to teach third grade. But when I look back now, I see what God was doing. So I taught third grade. And then later I taught middle school and I taught middle school language arts. And then I taught high school economics and US history. And so I kind of just made this progression up. And then I became a principal. And I've been a principal at every grade level, elementary, middle school, and high school. And I see what God was doing. When I look back, I can be like, okay, God, I see it. But let me tell you, in the midst of it, I didn't see it. I didn't see that this was going to be good for me, but now I can see that God was doing like each little work perfectly and completely along the way. After I was a high school principal, I ended up moving into working with the university, and I taught at the university for 7 years. Did student conduct, worked in that department as well as being a professor. But if I wouldn't have had that opportunity to keep moving up, which I kind of did it kicking and screaming, I would not have the background that I do today in education. So I thank God for that. And I thank God that He's patient with us.
Mhm.
And when we're like, no, I don't want to do that. No, this isn't what's best for me. He's like, no, it is what's best for you. And He cares for us each step of the way. So that's a little bit
Mhm.
more of my journey and taking it a little bit further.
You went to Grand Canyon State when it was known as a brick and mortar, like now it's known as a online university, but it was actually a brick and mortar that you didn't graduate there though, right?
Oh, I did graduate from there. So I graduated my bachelor's at Grand Canyon University. And you are right. Like back in the day, it was just like these little buildings. It wasn't even very big. And later on, my son went to Grand Canyon University and my daughter. They both have their bachelor's degrees from there. And that was the point when Grand Canyon was really in this growth state. And they are known for their online degrees, but they're also known for their huge campus now. And I mean huge. And so they just keep adding on and adding on and adding
Wow.
on. So when I went back to drop my son off as a freshman, I was like, okay, like, it was like a smaller campus. And I remember driving up thinking, oh my goodness, what has happened here? It's so different. But it was a good opportunity for him.
Wow. So, feel free to take us back if you need to, or fill in any context like you've already done here a couple of times. But I want to ask you, in 3 decades plus of being in education, and I mean, just in your dialogue, you've done a lot. We probably don't even know that the third of what you've done in education. What was your favorite part, and how did it prepare you for entrepreneurship?
My probably my favorite part of education, um, personally, is I think I've always been like a dreamer. Like I would dream, and my dad would really encourage that for us to dream and think outside of the box. And so having the opportunity to even graduate early, like at 16, I think there was a lot of good with that because I was able to step into my dream sooner than some kids when they're waiting until they're 18. Watching my dad, I think really gave me a lot of courage to step into that entrepreneurial world because it's not an easy world. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. And as I take that then into my career, one of my favorite things that I did in my career was working with high school students and doing mentorship programs with them. So, you want to be a dentist? Okay, let's have you work with the local dentist and see if that's really what you want to do. I worked with the local hospital that was next door to our school, and we had junior volunteers, and they would go in and have opportunities to really understand healthcare, or attorneys in town, students that wanted to be, go into law. Like I like to make those connections for people. I also always felt like I was very blessed along the way. My dad gave us a lot of experiences, and even though my mom was sick, he would make sure every year we would take a 2-week vacation. And two times between, of course, from 0 to 14, we went to Washington, D.C. And I'll never forget that he even got us a way to get in to the Oval Office. And I hold that like, oh, that was really special. Was when Ronald Reagan was the president at that point in time. Now I share that because our experiences in life and what happens within our families, we take that into our careers. And so even when I taught younger students, I wanted to make sure that they had those opportunities. So like my high school kids, I wanted to make sure that they knew like what they were going to do for their careers, right? Like let me get you set up to do a mentoring program. But for the younger ones, it might be taking them to a restaurant. And I would do that with my whole class. I'd get like all my third graders. I think back, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I do it today, but we would get on the city bus even sometimes, and we would go to a restaurant, or we would go and go to the state fair. I took them to the state fair. I wanted them to have experiences just like I was provided experiences when I was younger, because I know it shaped me into the person that I am. And then you can see the link in becoming an entrepreneur because we follow those who lead us, and teachers are leaders. And so parents are leaders, you're leaders as well. And I hope that answers your question. I know it's probably different than most of your guests, but I would say my life's a little bit different. So I shared it from my perspective, but I hope that answers
Of
your question.
course. Absolutely. And so here in 2026, you know, on a weekly basis, how involved are you still with education versus your new vision as an entrepreneur?
Well, I would say it's not I think I have multiple visions. Let's say that. Okay. I'm still involved with kids every single week. I still teach children. And so that's something that I still do. I teach a leadership class for kids every week. And then I also teach some core content in science and in language arts and reading. So that's something I still do. And then I also am traveling and training in multiple schools across the nation. And I mean, my schedule is getting ready to be really, really busy, right, for 2026, 27 for the school year. So I travel and train in different schools. So education is still my heart, still my passion. But then I also host a women's Bible study every week. And that's through my group called Gold to Glitter. And that comes from the book of Job that, God refines us. I mean, he takes us and he refines us. And I started that group during the pandemic. And I didn't think it would be where it's at today, but it is, right? We've gone 6 years strong having women's Bible study every single week on Zoom. And I'm getting ready to host my first um, gathering. I've spoken for other gatherings, but I'm going to have my own here in Dallas, Texas in November, November 13th and 14th. And so you just see how God's growing that lane as well. So I have education. And then I also have this part with women's ministry. And then we have another lane, and we really want to equip churches and we want to equip schools and preschools with education in regards to the Bible. Sunday school has been something that has kind of dwindled away a little bit. And so in partnership with my son, we wrote a curriculum called The Bible is for Me from A to Z. We have multiple families using it right now. And that's a newer launch for us. So that's like lane number 3. And then lane number 4 is, really helping people understand their brain. Although I integrate that into everything. If you're going to be in my education conferences, you're going to hear about the brain. If you're going to be in Bible study, you're going to hear about the brain because you know what? We need to have the mind of Christ. And even our Bible curriculum, we know with children, I just think this is always a fun fact, but 0 to 3, we know that, well, I should even back it up 0 to 1. How about 0 to 1? 50% of the brain grows within that time. Isn't that crazy?
51%
50% of the brain. 50%.
before 50% by age one.
hmm And then
Wow.
the next statistic is between 0 to 3. And there's some different numbers. 70 to 80% is what you're going to find of brain growth and development between 0 to 3. So in that bracket right there, we call that the golden years of the brain. Although what parents tend to do, or even childcare centers, a lot of them, they just let the kids, well, they'll eventually get it. What I have found with the work that I've done with children is that the faster you can teach them things, even about the Bible, they're going to get it really embedded into their mind, right? And so it's incredibly important whether you're teaching biblical concepts, whether you're teaching them just about the world in which we live, whether you're teaching them about the alphabet, numbers, colors, shapes, the earlier the better. And then by the age of 5, 90% of brain growth and development happens. Now we know the human brain also does not fully develop until 25. And yet the American way is that we say, hey, my kid's ready at 18 to face the world. And they really are not, right? But I don't know why we came up with that magical 18 being the number, because 25 is really when the brain is what we say fully formed. But those early years, and why I'm passionate about early education, is that those are the years when the brain is being formed in such a fast manner. So I think it's really important that we're focused in on that. Whether you're a mom, dad, teacher, auntie, uncle, grandparent, how can you help this younger generation?
Yeah, and I'm positive you can speak more intellectually on this than I can. But just for a second, can I insert that for children that have experienced abuse or trauma, that slows that process down even more, correct?
It does. And yet, if we go in and we think about it in a different way, remember, it's like you're programming the brain on a
Hmm.
consistent basis. I think often, and this is my personal opinion, we have done too much with how do you feel and how do you think. Like, I think, I feel, right? We do it as adults too.
Hmm.
Oh, I feel like they don't like me, or I feel like I'm not wanted, or I think I could do that. And so children who have trauma, they already have those little pieces embedded in their brain. But what we have found is that a caring adult can make a huge difference. And then I think too that we don't keep programming the brain with, well, it's because of the trauma. We want to program the brain with, okay, this is what God can do for you. And and it does take work. It's a lot of work, as in anything that we do. But yes, it's a little more challenging, but it's not something that we cannot overcome. With Christ, we can do all things.
And the results may not be instantaneous. They may come later in life.
I would just say the results will not be instantaneous unless a miracle happens, right? It's a process. It's a process for all of us. But children with
Yeah,
trauma, it's even more because if you look at the ACEs score, which is the adverse childhood experiences, are you familiar with that?
just a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so any score over a three is a high score. That and all it is 10 questions. Like if your guests today, that are watching the show, they're like, you know what, like what is that? Go look up adverse childhood experiences. You can take the quiz. It's 10 questions. And it's really saying like the parents got a divorce, like that might be one of the questions, yes or no. And so you answer these questions and it'll give you a score at the end. And if your score is above a three, they say that you have a high level of adverse childhood experiences. Here's where it was really interesting, Steve. We focused on that so much in education, like, oh, look at their ACEs, look at their ACEs, because you're talking about trauma, right? And so we came back. There was another study that said, well, what if they had positive childhood experiences, like the antidote, like it was like what was going to come and fix that? And they found that once a caring adult started paying attention to these children, all of a sudden they started growing. There's something I teach in behavior called the 2 by 10 rule. And if anyone has a child or you have a grandchild, I would tell you this is like a great, great little tool that you can use. But when a child has any kind of behavior issue, or I say behavior is not what always screams the loudest at you. It can also be a child who's withdrawn. It can go both ways. So you have to look at it. But there's something called the 2 by 10 rule. And the 2 by 10 rule is really intriguing because what it said was this, and there's multiple research studies behind it, that if you spent 2 minutes a day with a child for 10 consecutive days just listening to them, it would all of a sudden start changing things within their brain and their behavior. Now, it's not me asking them questions for 2 minutes. I'm like, oh, this is my time with you. Okay, what do you want to tell me about? I had pizza for dinner last night. Oh my goodness. That sounds so good. Oh, it was good. It had pepperoni on it and black olives and lots of cheese. Wow, I love cheese. It's just this simple conversation. And then they might say, do you like ice cream? Oh, I do like ice cream. What's your favorite kind? Chocolate. And you're just having this conversation that they're leading. And if you do that for 10 days, that you would start to see the change in the behavior. And it's called the 2 by 10 rule. So there's a little fun tip and trick for parents or grandparents today.
That's awesome. And again, I could take that conversation down a pretty far rabbit hole, but there's also attachment going on in that
Mhm.
conversation that you're just describing, which is so needed with kids from hurt places too. You mentioned one of your books, The Bible from A to Z. Do you have a copy of that nearby, by the way?
I have it right back here behind me. It's in a binder. You'll see our program called Journey of Action, and then it's actually it's a download, and then we have boxes. It's called the Bible box, and it has like all the printables for kids and their Bible stories. And I wrote that in conjunction with my son. The Bible is for me from A to Z.
That
So,
is awesome.
but did you have a specific question about it?
I can't see it very good. Now that you pointed out that it's in the back, I can kind of make it out. I was just going to have you show it to us.
Sure, let me just grab it. How
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, that'd be great.
So this one's printed, and this one, again, people get the digital download, and then if they come to like one of our conferences, they can get a box, and it's just called The Bible is for Me from A to Z. And what it does is it takes you through, and I'm just going to go like, here's one letter. Okay, so like the letter A, and then it's going to have a Bible verse for it that goes with the letter
Mm,
A. So ask and you shall receive, Matthew 7:7, or ask and it will be given to you, Matthew 7:7. And then we have the story A is for Abraham. And it goes through, and there's a question that you can ask your child. There's the Bible story, and then there's also a prayer that's modeled. So it's very simple. And then we have like little stick puppets here. So Abraham, there he is. And then there's a play mat, and this is Abraham on his journey. And they can
that's
color that little
awesome.
map. It's very similar if you think of it like back in the day when we would have Sunday school, right?
Hmm.
But this goes all the way from A to Z. So A is for Abraham, B is for Barnabas, C is for Caleb, D is for Daniel. See, here's Daniel in the lion's den. And there's little activities for them all the way through. No matter even the letter, let's see, T is for Tabitha. There's that one. When you get to the end, it gets a little trickier, right? So U is the unwell man. We did the unwell man, and how Jesus, he said to the servant, he's like, no, like you don't need to come to my house. I'm not worthy of that. But
Mm,
just say the word and my servant will be healed. And so for that one, see, we have the little stick figure and you put it on a popsicle stick and you can flip him over and he's either sick or well. And so that's kind of a fun one. But we did a lot of stories that like Queen Vashti, we have her in here. So for every letter of the alphabet, then what our goal is for the kids to say their Bible verses from A to Z. And so A, we start with ask, and it shall be given unto you, and then B, be kind one to another. And it goes all the way through, and the kids memorize them from A to Z. And that's a brain hack because what happens is your brain can easily remember it because of the alphabet. So that's the way it was developed.
that's incredible. I love that. I love that. So I do want to get into, I know you're now, and I'm interested in how long you've been doing this and how often you're going to be doing. I know you're into public speaking more and more,
Mhm.
but before we go there, tell us, you've experienced a lot of success in education at many different levels. Um, and I don't know if your answer is going to go all the way back to childhood or not. You gave us a little into that, but was there a period in your life where worthiness was a major issue for you, or lack of, I should say?
I would say yes. I think anyone who's truthful is going to tell you yes. I
Hmm.
don't know how any of us would say no unless we're kind of like in a cover up place. And I think we all feel unworthy for different reasons. But one of the biggest times that I think I have felt like unworthy was the moment that I start comparing myself with someone else in that comparison trap. So,
Right.
okay, you seem more successful because you have more money, or you seem more successful because you moved up the career ladder faster than I did, or you have another degree and I only have a bachelor's degree. I don't have a master's degree. So then I went and got my master's degree. And then I look and I'm like, oh, someone has their doctorate degree, right? And so all of those things can really make us feel like we're not worthy. And I have to say, I finally came to a place, and yes, I've had a lot of successes in education, but at the same time, I've also had a lot of very difficult things. I had a lot of trauma, and I can either stay stuck in my trauma, and I can say, oh, like all those things were so hard, and they were hard, but I either can get up and show up differently. And I even use that in my book, Get Your Ducks in a Row. One of the chapters is how will you show up? Like you get to choose every day how you show up. And and the choice is yours. And when I look myself in the mirror, I'm like, the choice is yours, Michon. Like, how will you show up today? Will you show up frustrated? Will you show up aggravated because things didn't go your way? Will you show up disappointed? Will you show up with fear or will you show up with faith? And we have to ask ourselves every day, like, how will we show up? And so I can also ask myself, going back to your question, will I show up that I'm worthy? Or will I show up that I'm defeated and I'm less than? And I think my husband put it the best way because when I was writing the book, Get Your Ducks in a Row More Than Managing Succeeding, the first chapter has to do with I am statements. And truthfully, I could ask this question, are you familiar with I am statements? And if I ask that to a crowd of people, oh, probably 95% would raise their hand, right? It's very overused. Wouldn't you agree, Steve? Like
I
everyone
definitely
uses that,
agree.
right? I am, I could say I am worthy, I am loved, I am kind. And I said to him, I go, what do you think of this I am, like using the I am statements? And he said, my husband doesn't say a lot, but he said this. He said, anytime I say it, I am worthy because of Christ. And he said, after everything that I say because of Christ, because it's Christ in us, the hope of glory. And without Christ, we're nothing. And so when I start looking at my worthiness through that lens, that makes it totally different. I am loved because of Christ, right? I am brave because of Christ. I am resilient to move past trauma because of Christ. And let me just say, some people will be like, well, you don't understand how hard my life is. And I could be like, well, we lost 5 family members in 13 months and we lost 7 in 2 years. I mean, I could walk into any place that had fresh flowers and immediately in my brain, it reminded me of a funeral,
Mm, mm,
right? And I remember one day walking into the grocery store and you know how you pass the flowers and there's just that smell?
mhm.
And I said, oh, I hate flowers. Oh, it just reminds me of everything we have gone through. And I remember the Lord was like, I just, that knowing you get in your spirit. Like, I want you to see it differently today. See it different. There's beauty in every single flower. There's new life. And I thought, you know what? I have the choice how I'm going to show up, thinking that flowers are something to remind me of something hurtful, or I can see flowers is something beautiful and new. And so again, it's all how we show up every single day and our perspective and how we
Yep.
think about things. So I know that was a lot to your answer, if I ever felt unworthy, but I think the thing is I can be in comparison with anything. Like I have more trauma than you have, or the job you have. It can be anything. But again, just show up every day and ask yourself, how are you going to show up the best way possible for him?
Yeah, I love that. I love the reframe. When I think about it's dangerous waters to play the comparison game, both with success and with trauma, because we're all going to go through it, right? And
Mhm,
anybody watching that's going through a difficult time right now, I don't say that lightly. It's just
mhm.
true. We're all either have come out of a storm or we're going to go through another one. We don't get to heaven without scars, for sure. And it's how we rise again. And it's how, if we let God, he will use some of your worst chapters and make it beautiful, so, in a way that glorifies him. And you, like, without going too deep into it, I'm sure some of those situations that you went through, first of all, you couldn't control them. I'm sure
Right.
you wouldn't like to do them again, but looking back, like, wow, God used this to do this in my life. And I'm so grateful he didn't waste the experience. That's how God works.
Hmm.
So I love it. Like even Mary Magdalene, right? All that Jesus healed her of, she expressed her gratitude, not just in words, but she essentially, now these are my words. She was on Jesus's healing team. Now he did the healing, right? He did the heavy lifting, but
Right.
she was there to support that, not just financially, but at a heart level. She wanted to be around him because of the gratitude for the healing that he had done in her life. So just, yeah, we could camp there for a long, long time. I love that. Um, tell folks where they can find you, learn more about the amazing work you're doing, but also tell us what your goal is as a keynote speaker and what you like to talk about. I probably should have broke those questions up, but I think you can handle that.
So you can find me on Facebook just under my name, Michon Henegar, but also you can find me at mybraincoach.com/Michon, Michon. So mybraincoach.com and then slash Michon. And that will take you to where you have all my contact information. You can also find my book, which I'm going to kind of take this as a lead in to what I like to keynote on right now, but I wrote this book called Get Your Ducks in a Row, More Than Managing Succeeding. And, a lot of people have written books. And for a long time, I probably should have written this book a lot sooner than I did. I will tell you that. I know what I was supposed to write on. I would keep writing different things down, and people would even message me, like, you need to put things into a book. And I just knew one day, like, you've got to do it, like, get it finished. And so people are like, why did you write the book? I said, out of obedience, because I knew that I needed to get it out there. I'm thankful that the Lord changes us from glory to glory, right? Like it's like this process that He's working on in us. And so this book is where I'm keynote speaking right now. There are many pieces in it, but the first chapter of it, it just talks about like who are you in this season? Like I could make a list on the wall that says, I am loved, I am kind, I am determined. I could do that. But the first chapter talks about like who are you in this season? Because this season right now of life for me is different than it was 10 years ago. Right
Mhm.
now, I've got three little grandbabies, right? I mean, 10 years ago, I had kids graduating from high school. That's a totally different world than where we are today. It's a different place where I'm at in my career. I'm not teaching full time or a school administrator full time or at the university all day. I'm traveling and training in different places. So when I keynote, what I want to do is I really want to help people understand like where are you in this season? And then I want to give them little tips and tricks that are going to help them actually make the changes that they need in life. So I'm going to give you one right now. And I always say to people, what are the facts about you? This is in the introduction of my book. But this is what it means. When I say, what are the facts about you? You write it down as an acronym, the word facts. So FACTS. You can even do it right now, Steve. You could just write down those five letters. And then I have people go in and ask themselves these questions. F is for food. Where are you at with food? Do you have a good relationship with it? Do you need to eat more food? Do you need to eat healthier food? Do you need to eat less food? Like we could go down this full list, right? But ask yourself where you're at with food. I give people this tip and trick when I speak on a keynote. Always pair produce and protein together. It's one of your healthiest things you can do. And drink water. Those two things will be incredibly good for the brain. Even 1% of dehydration will
Mm.
make you have brain fog. It'll give you a headache. You'll feel tired. You'll have a cognitive decline. And so, really drinking water. A is for activity. Activity. Have you been moving today? Did you go for a walk? Did you go to the gym? Did you lift weights? Or did you just sit in your chair, right? You had like 500 Zoom meetings and you barely made it back to the car to drive home. Well, you've got to look at yourself and say, what kind of activity do I need? There has been research done that anyone who has ADD, which a lot of people have been diagnosed with it, and a lot of people have self diagnosed themselves as well, but anyone who really has those focus issues, just simply getting up and exercising is going to change your brain and change the way that you think about things. Okay, C is community. We know from the Word of God the importance of community and that we spend time with other people. It loops back to your first question, like, who do you like to do life with? Right? And
Yeah.
we look at the book of Acts. In the book of Acts, it says that no one was in need. Well, the reason no one was in need is everyone was working together. There was a great community going on. So I ask people, have you been in community with other people? Give yourself a score from 0 to 10. Where are you at in community? T is your thoughts. What are you thinking about? Whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are true. I mean, use that like as a little strategy from the Word of God to ask yourself, where are your thoughts today? And it's important how we're thinking. There are so many scriptures in the Word of God that support that, that our thoughts are important. So are our words, like what I speak, but my words come from my thoughts,
Hmm.
right? And then S is your sleep. I ask people to go through them and I say, what are the facts about you? What are the facts about your food, your activity, your community, your thoughts, your sleep? Your sleep is when your brain goes in and it cleans itself. So the brain's not really sleeping. The brain is like cleaning during that time of sleep. So if you don't have enough sleep, your brain is not cleaning itself to the level that it needs to clean itself. So
Hmm.
that's something that I use in the very front of the book. There's very practical, like small little things through the entire book like that. So the next chapter is on awareness and how will you show up. There's a chapter on map your day. There's a chapter on cleaning up versus cleaning out. Because I don't know how many people have told me, and you said you think I'm organized. Well, you have to learn strategies like to not just clean up things, but clean them out, clean out the garage, clean out the closet, clean out the junk drawer. That's different than doing the dishes and doing the laundry. That's cleaning up. Cleaning out are the big projects. And so for keynoting, I will take usually one of those chapters or combine a couple of those chapters together. And I just gave you the first three that are in the book. But those things right there, I'll take them and keynote on them. And let me tell you why I came up with the name Get Your Ducks in a Row More Than Managing Succeeding. I've known the name More Than Managing Succeeding for probably 10 years. Every once in a while, I check, like, did anyone write a book about that yet? Because what we do is we manage through life. We manage to get up again. We manage to make it through another day, right? We manage. But I truly believe that God has a life of success for us. And so people would ask me, well, Michon, what do you do? Now, I just explained to you, Steve, I do like all these different lanes, right? So I finally just started telling people, well, I just help people get their ducks in a row.
I love it.
And so when I tell people that, they're like, oh my goodness, like that's, it's something that they think about. And if you ever hear me speak live, I promise you I will be giving away these little teeny tiny ducks. And I have all different ones. I have this one with sunglasses, right? I've got some that have like hair bows for women's conferences, all different ones. But really, I want people to understand that when you get your ducks in a row, in the season of life you're in, you will do more than managing, you will succeed. And so that's what I would keynote on.
Oh my goodness. That is so helpful. I did write them down. And I'm looking at the five of them. I'm like, yeah, there's three of those five need significant work. Not that there's always room for improvement in all of them for sure, but even in just your brief explanation of a few minutes into that, I see the power in it. I can only imagine hearing, a 30 to 45-minute keynote in that, how powerful that would be. Is TEDx on your radar, or have you already done that too?
I've thought about it. I have not done that yet, but it's
Mm,
been in my thought process. That's what I will say.
I'm probably just the latest to gently nudge you in that direction, right?
Okay.
uh, Fascinating. I hate to bring it to a close, but I know we have to. This is fascinating. I really want to thank you for sharing your wisdom, your life experiences, but also your willingness to be vulnerable about worthiness. Because you're right. If we say we've never had that issue, who are we kidding? We've all
Mhm.
dealt with it, and I love your perspective of reframing how that's impacted us. It's not ignoring it, but it's for me, it would be choosing gratitude for the growth that's come from it.
Good.
And we all have different perspectives, but the goal is to be a healthier, ever evolving human being. And you're certainly a great example of that. I love what you're doing for kids. I love how you love your family. I love you said at one point you just kind of glanced over. You said you loved being a connector, and
Mhm.
I've only known you a little while, and I have found that to be true too. So you've got a heart of gold, and it's shown today. I really appreciate you being our special guest today.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate you having me, and I've enjoyed our conversation. And if anyone wants to reach out, feel free. I'm here to help anyone that I can. I don't know if I mentioned, but my book is on Amazon, so they can get it there. Get your ducks in a row. But reach out anyway. I'm here. I'm just a message away.
We'll have all your links in the show notes, and if you would like, I can do it, but it'd be awesome if you want to drop your Amazon link to that book in the comment section after the interview. That'd be awesome.
Okay, I can do that most definitely.
Okay, awesome, guys. Your story's not over yet. Get your ducks in a row. There's still time. But no, I'm so grateful for each one of you, and I'm cheering you on, and you're worthy of a breakthrough. What you think about that? You're worthy of what's next in your life. And it's going to be amazing when God shows you what's next. I appreciate each one of you. Till next time, keep the faith. Take care.